Microsoft?
Yes.
Yeah.
Paul,
We're
why do you always
live.
gotta steal my? Why do you always gotta steal my orange,
We're
Paul?
live. Let's go.
Paul, change your color, please. Orange is my favorite color. It's all I have. It's all
Right.
I have, Paul. Okay.
I think we're good.
Okay, let's go.
Thank you. 3, 2, 1. Hello, Internet. After a short break last week, I am Justin Fried, and I am back on the Tech Podcast inThirty. Hello, I'm time of
All our
I'm.
followers said I was the better intro person.
No one said that.
But you don't know that yet.
Okay, I want to see this. Haim Cohen, who claims to be the best intro maker on the
Out of
show.
the two of us.
Okay. Maybe it's still that's still we'll put you in that category. Is here. Paul N. Shapiro of SearchWilderness.com is here, and this week we are talking from minute 1 all the way to minute 29 about Microsoft, and I don't think that Apple's going to come up very much at all because Microsoft did a really killer job at this last what is it, press conferencing that they did, right?
Well, it's not the CES keynote that they usually do, but yeah, it's their you want to call it Macworld?
Well, I think you're breaking the rule that I just tried to create for this episode. But yes, and then they're out of CES. So this is their Microsoft event of the year, and they gave us some more details about Windows 10. They talked about all of this Star Warsy holographic stuff, right? And they also announced that Bill Gates actually has been a cyborg since 2012. So
Well,
these are all big announcements.
well,
Paul,
okay, go ahead.
Paul, you're on your work computer. I, by the way, am running battery power only. As someone who is on Windows 7 or Windows 8, I would presume, are you think the corporate world is going to adopt this free Windows 10 for a year and replace whatever operating system you're on right now? Are you excited?
It's unlikely, but I mean the conference was great. I'm kind of excited outside of work world.
Well, let me ask you, Paul, what are you currently running now on your work computer?
This is Windows 7.
Okay, here's the thing. So if you don't know what we're going to talk about is that Windows 10 is a free upgrade for 1 year, which we can talk about in a second. I think I understand why. So anybody who has Windows 7 or 8.1 but not Vista and not XP can get the free upgrade within the first year of release. Now, here's the issue. My school just moved to Windows 7. I mean, we're talking 3-4 months ago. So that means that Windows 7 was out for 5 years, and they chose not to upgrade. I think what they're doing is say, hey, we want everyone up. Here's your incentive. But if you don't, or the budget or money is not important to you, do it when you feel like it. But we're not. You're going to have to pay. Am I wrong on that?
So look, it seems like one thing that I don't understand overall is why they crammed so much into this announcement. It seems like Windows 10 and the new replacement for Internet Explorer called Spartan at this time would have been enough to kind of galvanize people, and they wanted to add in all this, this future-looking stuff. But going back to what might be the most important thing for a lot of people going forward is that the Windows 10 upgrade from 7 to 8.1 will be free for a year. And yeah, I think it's pretty clear that the strategy is to time limit the freeness of it in order to incentivize people to upgrade. The only people that will make money off it are those who are tasked with doing the upgrade. And I've already been playing around with it a little bit, and I'm pretty confident already that especially in mixed Windows 7 and 8.1 environments, all of my clients, I will have them on Windows 10 pretty much as soon as I possibly can get them there, because the operating system itself is really good.
Well,
so it's a win.
What's the difference between 8.1 and 10? I mean, I've played with 8.1. I guess I haven't played with it enough to say, because I still go crazy. If you don't have a fast processor, it feels like those corners just take forever to come about, and the charms and everything else.
That is part of the problem. It's that in the UI, things get complicated, and the switching between full screen Windows Store apps, even though they have the bar at the top, and regular old Windows apps gets confusing. The gestures are kind of useless for many users. Windows 10 cleans that stuff up. It makes the start menu the best it has ever been. It's better than Windows 7. It's certainly better than Windows 8. You click on it. The live tiles, they actually make sense for the first time. It looks really cool, frankly, to have the weather there. And it's a win, and it's really quick. And also, I don't know how they did this exactly, whether it's through compression or jettisoning a lot of old code. When you do a base install of Windows 10, the technology preview, it uses like 8 gigabytes less space than Windows 7, and that's after I personally accounted for the Hibernate file and all this other stuff. So it's a good operating system.
I have my conspiracy theory on that.
And Spartan makes it even better. What is this? What is the conspiracy theory?
What did Apple do to give 6 gigs of free space between Leopard and Snow Leopard?
Well,
remember?
Part of it was not installing all the printer drivers at the beginning and not installing all the languages.
That's not what I'm getting at. They did the difference between 1 billion bytes and 1.2 billion bytes. The thousand megabytes is a gigabyte, which is what the marketers want, when it's really 1,020.
No, I am talking about in virtual machines that I set up all the time. This is not a marketing thing at all. We got to get off this and to get to a different topic. But I'm talking about when I create a virtual machine to test something out, using a Windows 7 or Windows 8 ISO, I have to make the image size about 32 gigabytes for me to feel comfortable with it. With Windows 10 Tech Preview, which I've been playing around with all the time, at a flat 16 gigabytes, the operating system is 100% usable. So, and I have room to install stuff. So they've cleaned up a lot of trash.
What RAM would you put onto it? What RAM are you throwing at it?
When I'm doing the virtual machines?
Yeah.
Usually I'm on a computer with 16 gigabytes of RAM, so I allocate 4 gigabytes to begin with, and if that's not enough, I go 6 and then 8. So I don't take.
No, but do you think that a person? So do you think someone with 4 gigs of RAM, which at this point is a pretty low-end machine, will have any problems running Windows 10?
My bet is no, and my bet is that it will feel better than Windows 8. But let's get out. The thing that was amazing about this announcement is that they didn't go in depth to all the nitty gritty of Windows 10. It looks like whatever Satya Nadella is doing, he's doing the right thing. Microsoft was able to inject a lot of cool and a lot of excitement into the brand, I think, with just this one event. So let's get into that exciting stuff. Paul, you are hard to. It's hard to get you to use the word excited. So tell us what did it for you with these last announcements.
HoloLens.
Look, it's even brightening your smile as you're saying it out loud. So, but you tell us that it was a little too good to be true. But I have faith in Microsoft, frankly. So what is it that is exciting you about it?
It's awesome. It's everything that Google Glass should be, or we think it should be.
It's not like Google Cardboard for $1.50.
It's nothing like that.
I can get.
No, it's awesome augmented reality glasses.
So
it's not like what's it called? It's not like Oculus Rift.
No, it's not like Oculus Rift at all. The idea is it overlays a meaningful set of digital controls or digital information on the real world, right?
Yes.
So when you saw that, Paul, though, did you think that? I mean, it still seems like this is something that is being made like by a Hollywood movie studio. Those demos, or did you think that if you got to put them on, I guess, but did you think that what you saw, people playing Minecraft on their like dining room table, like, that's real? Is that how it's going to be? I mean, of course, that's awesome.
I assume not, but I think it's the right direction.
Okay, so at the very least, at the very least, because I have a feeling there are these like deep dark places in Richmond that you could play around with some of the stuff. You think that their vision for the future makes sense here?
Yes.
And
isn't there's a Google project that's sort of similar for a phone?
Google Cardboard.
No.
No.
I'm trying to Google Tango. Does that make sense?
Tango is a hardware device that looks like a phone that does like 3D renderings of rooms and areas.
I might compare the two.
But what we're talking about here, and I'm not sold on the augmented reality stuff when you have to wear a headset to do it. But overall, overlaying digital controls on the real world, I guess, Paul, you think it's when Microsoft gets into enterprise and education, can you see a time when your students throw these things on their heads, and when you're teaching them slope-intercept format, you use your finger to explain what happens when you bump up the M a little bit?
Well, I don't know if I'll be teaching by the time we get there.
Okay.
I mean, we're looking. I mean, right now we're trying to get teachers to use the computer to give a test or to post homework online. I mean, that's the level of technology that we're at this point. So to go with virtual reality and augmented reality, I think we got a ways to go.
So it seems that Microsoft, though, when they show this stuff off, they showed off Microsoft the Surface, the first Surface, not the Surface that we know, and kind of
the big ass table.
The big ass table. By the way, there's a new version of that kind of as of this last announcement. That worked. That product worked a little bit. It wasn't 100% of what the video demos showed you, but you could move stuff around on the surface of the Surface, and it could recognize certain things. My sense is that when we see these augmented reality demos, that it is closer than the average one. This like Minority Report type stuff. I mean, it seems good like that. So, Paul, do you think that this is like, it's truly what Windows, if this is Windows 10 now, is this like a Windows 15 thing, and this is going to be like the way it works when you go to your office? You throw on your headset, and your cubicle has like little like steps or something in it that you can put stuff on?
I hope so.
So, and Microsoft's track record, it seems like they are on the pragmatic side of things, right?
Yes.
So is this making this stuff work at a business level strikes me as incredibly hard.
Well, we're looking at each individual thing as like this pipe dream, and I think what they did a good job. We're clearly talking about it, and we're not talking about, oh, they move this tile around and that tile around. They give two moonshot ideas with the HoloLens and the really big Surface, and saying, hey, look, we're not there yet, but this is what we're thinking about.
Okay, I mean, and some of this stuff, I think that still wearing a headset is like eyeglasses is a little annoying, but the idea of gesture controls and everything, and when you think about it in the context of the Kinect, the Xbox Kinect, Microsoft gets a lot of this stuff already. They have software that is able to really perfectly figure out where a human body is in space, so they'll always be able to know where your fingers are with a camera. So maybe this stuff really is coming.
Well, my question is, and I don't play Xbox at all, so I'm not the one to know this answer. Do people really want on their Windows machine to have their Xbox achievements and vice versa, like to send them back and forth? Is that a thing?
You're going to like a very minor element of the announcement, which is that some of the Xbox software stuff is going to end up in Windows.
Well, okay, so you want to go back to the enterprise. I'm hoping that this 84-inch 4K thing, if it can get brought down to like $1,000 or $1,500.
Paul's smiling again. Paul, what are you smiling about over there?
I'm smiling at high.
If they can bring this 84-inch big Surface down to like $1,500 as a price point, and I don't see it happening for a few years, I can see a lot of businesses replacing their whiteboards and everything.
All this out of here. What was the?
I have felt the need for a product like this in the office.
This thing works. By the way, what is the price? Does anyone know the price? Did they give a price?
Too much.
Did anyone say what it was?
It's one of those, if you have to ask, you can't afford it.
No,
Cisco 84 inches 4K.
Cisco companies that are smaller than you would think drop 10 and 20 grand on their video conferencing stuff. This is a big win for Microsoft. So, Paul, I agree with you 100%. This thing could be used in a lot of business scenarios overnight. So, yeah, I think this thing is literally huge and figuratively huge. Where do you see it, Paul? I mean, this like a Microsoft piece of hardware, like everyone wants in on this thing, right? For whiteboarding.
I could see this being in every conference room in my office, easily.
I mean, I didn't jump on the smartboard bandwagon. I never saw the need for it. It goes back to what's the likelihood that people are going to actually know how to do this, or is it just going to be a giant whiteboard? An 84-inch whiteboard to play YouTube videos, it's not worth it.
If it has Kinect-like functionality, so it can tell where your fingers are and know where all the people are, and then they do the hard part of letting you control a smart UI with your fingers, it's awesome. It'll be
so I can sit in front of my iPad, leaning back, and control the meeting by like not standing up.
You're right. With looking using the iPad as the presentation control. You're right. But
Look, it looks cool. Look, I would love this as a board in my classroom that I could write on. I would actually use this because it does everything for me. There's my computer, and then have some sort of either just second monitor or whatever it is, so I can do like attendance without showing grades or whatever it is.
They're going to be
for school.
well, just it is for school too.
School. It'd be $220 for school.
Well, that's what I said. If you can bring it down to 1,500, I think that you can sell a whole bunch of these.
Just be careful what you put on your 84-inch 4K display, time. We don't want you getting fired or anything. Okay, so the thing that I think dovetails with this in an interesting way is that Microsoft wants you seemingly to annotate everything. They showed off Spartan. They're bulldozing Internet Explorer. When I see them doing that, I think it's a very smart decision just at a branding level. I imagine someone doing the same with like Steve Ballmer's Office. They're just like destroying it. They're like, get that shit out of here. Excuse my language.
Well, hold on.
I mean, you could have easily just called it Internet Explorer version number whatever.
I disagree.
Right?
I think
it's different.
Here's the issue. What was Internet Explorer when you wanted to connect to the internet? How many people did you set up that said, I need the E there? They knew that Internet Explorer was the E, and nothing can change their mind. I think
that no longer is the case.
Well, no. I still run it. Look, I work with people who never change. That's still the case. I still have people that double-click on links and all that stuff. I think by a complete change, like with Spartan or whatever.
You're telling me a lot of the teachers in your school are double-clicking on hyperlinks on a web page?
Absolutely. People who actually know the computer are still doing that.
Okay. All right.
Like that, so you have to get. You remember when you need to have the AOL.com? What's it called? The AOL.com had to be their homepage. Verizon.net had to be their homepage because that's what they paid for. I got a lot of little old ladies that told me I need to have Verizon.net. I said, but
this is why the United States GDP declines year over year. Okay, that's not really the case. It has actually been very well in 2014.
Spartan, but the idea is that Spartan being a new icon or something like that.
It doesn't matter. You're totally wrong. It doesn't matter. It's the default browser on Windows 10 after you upgrade 7 or 8.1. They'll give it a shot. If it's good enough to prevent 10% of the people from by default installing Chrome and 5% of the people that previously used Firefox from by default installing Firefox, it's at least getting Microsoft trajectory-wise back where they need to be.
Do you use Safari?
Do I use Safari?
Yeah.
Oh, I do use Safari on when I'm in OS 10 when I want to like save battery life and stuff and when I want it to load really quick.
That's not your default browser.
No, I mean I'm really stuck on Google, so I'm in Chrome.
Now, what I don't understand is why. I mean, it seems like.
Wait, let's go back. What I was talking about was the annotation. We were doing a nice segue from the 84-inch screen into Spartan via the annotation. They want you to annotate web pages, right? Microsoft wants you to use a stylus or even your finger. You know, the opposite of the Steve Jobs way of doing it. Stylus to finger, not finger to maybe when Apple released stylus. So it's this idea of interacting with digital content in a more fluid way. If you're circling stuff that normally you could only just copy and paste or do a screenshot of, and Windows handles that for you, if they can get people used to that whole method of doing things, then Microsoft kind of gets to own that gesturing system, that idea, and they're ahead in that. And I think that's what Spartan will do, and that's what the big screen is about. But anyway, there is.
They've been trying to do this for a while. Like that was totally a Windows 8 thing.
Right. So if it makes much more sense than when you're not using a trackpad or a mouse. I mean, it kind of makes sense with a trackpad, but it makes more sense if you're using your finger to point.
Well, remember, you have a touch screen. Most people, if they're buying on a laptop, have a touch screen. They're the new tablets or whatever they want to call them, Surface Pros or whatever, they're all touch screen. So this makes sense. But my question going back to this is, how come the idea of annotating something, a screenshot, hasn't been done yet with that? I mean, iOS doesn't have it. Android doesn't have it. Samsung has their own thing with their...
By the way, it was added into Mail.app in OS 10.
That you can, with your finger...
I don't know if it's with your finger necessarily, but the idea of drawing in Mail.app exists.
I mean, but like on iOS, there's a lot of times where I want to take a screenshot and then draw right on it, even with my finger, and it's not something that's easily done. And
you're right.
And this makes, and I feel like this is specifically targeted the tablet market or the touchscreen where you can do it, send it off, and be done with it. And I think it's great.
We
They
do it all the
also
time in the office.
and
It's like
what's up?
something that everyone does every day is annotate screenshots. So it
So
makes a lot of sense.
so to streamline that, to make it, because it's still, when I do it, it's something I have to think my way through a little bit. It's not at, like, it's like if you want to attach a link to an email or copy and paste something, you don't think about it. But like if I have to open up Preview, or even if I'm using a third-party piece of software, I got to think about it a little bit. So yeah, I think Microsoft is ahead of Google and Apple here. And if people demand this, they're going in the right direction. Overall, the whole presentation indicates that they're going in the right direction. Where are we at on time?
10 minutes.
Oh, good. All right. So between Spartan and Windows 10 and everything else, they made some good branding decisions. It seems to me that the sum total of this stuff even gives what used to be called Windows Phone, which is now just like Windows, a leg up, just at a confidence level in the company. I don't know if I'm pushing it too far, but like if you're excited about this 84-inch display and HoloLens and Windows 10, it seems like it might push, like, that sliver of people that were interested in Windows Phone to begin with, give them a little bit more oomph to pick up a Windows Phone.
Look, I see Windows phones, or I see the teenagers having Windows phones because it was the default free one. And I ask them, is this your first smartphone? Do you like it? And it goes back to what we've said always. If it's your first smartphone, people really like it. But if they're trying to get Instagram on it or Snapchat or whatever it is because they're used to it, they can't get it, then they seem to hate it. So people who have no experience with smartphones love Windows Phone. And if you have a Windows machine, how could you go wrong?
I know a handful of people who it is not their first smartphone and they just love it for whatever reason.
Well, famously, Harry wanted one because it had the 42 megapixel camera.
Yeah, it's a hardware thing though, and yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And he will never get one. So when you, let's go back to Windows Phone a little bit. They're also pulling from their successes in Windows Phone and integrating it into Windows on the desktop, or Windows. This for the first time, it seems like Windows actually has a place on the desktop and mobile, and on like other hardware. So it's just Windows across the board, right? But Cortana, which is pretty legit, is coming to Windows in a big way. So not
have
only
you played with Cortana? I have not.
In Windows 10 tech preview, there's some Microsoft gets voice to text. Doing the semantic stuff is still hard, but there's no. Let's just put Google, of course, has Google Now as a voice assistant. Apple has Siri. Siri is still, I think, talk about a division that needs to be retooled. Siri is not where it should be. Microsoft has a really good chance of, I think, getting people addicted to Cortana on their desktops and then getting some more market share in mobile because of it. Cortana works. At least, once again, they're going in the right direction. They're making it useful and really contextually aware in a way that Google Now kind of struggles to do with your local content. But Cortana, is a good piece.
Look, I think it's half of one's half dozen of one, six of the other, or whatever it is. Because I don't necessarily need somebody to talk back to me. I mean, when I say "Okay, Google," 30 things just pop up, all asking me what do I want to do. I don't need to be snarky back with some fake female voice.
The snarky stuff is from Siri, and it's a huge mistake. They have to obliterate that, like they did the green felt in their in
the skeuomorphic things.
Yeah, it's stupid. But Paul, what's your impression of Cortana or Microsoft's like kind of intellectual property prowess in the voice to text or voice recognition space?
Well, I've not used it, but it would be awesome to have it on a desktop computer more so than even on a phone at this point.
I mean, would you use?
I always use the voice to text functionality on my Mac.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, why not take it a step further?
So you're using the built-in dictation in OS 10?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
And in previous demos, Microsoft had already shown their live translation between two Skype callers. So they've got the Skype thing going for them. When you compare Skype to Hangouts, okay, which we're using right now, Microsoft even has an in that space. I mean, Skype is a good piece of software.
I use Skype all day.
Yeah, so is that for international? Because you're talking to people out of the
No,
country?
I use it as a chat room client.
Okay, so for text chat.
Yeah.
All right, so Microsoft, it seems kind of bleak sometimes when you think about it. Microsoft's future seems kind of bleak if you think about any of these things in isolation, but this last set of announcements, it establishes what they're going for in the future, and I think that vision takes all the pieces along with it, gives everything a boost, and they look like they're coming out of it pretty well there, and it's.
Do you think this is too little, too late?
Not at all. I think that they are reinvigorating themselves in a way that they legitimately get to be the underdog because they screwed up so much. Let's just look at the web browser space, okay? We're talking like 90% market share to less than 10%. They're the underdogs now. They get to do this neat stuff, and if you look at the things where they're winning at, and you look at the Connect, which I think was a smart purchase of the IP that allowed them to do that, and the future, yeah, some of this stuff, it's going to be hard to. It's going to be hard. I don't know what Apple and Google are doing in the space unless it's super secret.
Well, let's go back. We all lived through Vista. XP Vista was horrible, and they moved to Windows 7 right away. And Windows 7 was, I think, perfect from the beginning. And then we went to Windows 8, and I think obviously they did the same thing. They saw there was a flop, and they retooled it. But the problem is the internet now moves faster than it did from Vista to 7. And I have a feeling that with Siri and with Google Now and all these things, that it's not that it's too little too late. It's that people are set in their ways. And I don't know how hard it is to go back.
They have a really interesting chance in the enterprise, especially with this 1-year upgrade window, to do the reverse and to get people. Look, if Cortana beats Siri and Google Now, and I think there's a chance that it could do that for people's enterprise needs, right? There is a chance that they'll say when they're going from, they're doing a smartphone upgrade. You know what? Hey, I'll do the opposite. I'll use what I want in the enterprise and I'll bring that home. And that distinction between what is enterprise and what is personal isn't so important. It's like in what vertical are they best at? And Microsoft is they stake certain claims going forward, and it's augmented reality. That stuff. They're not the best at it, but like it works. It's a viable alternative. And people
with the last 2.5 minutes, did we hear anything of release time?
Windows 10.
No, when Windows 10 is coming out.
The technical preview expires in April, so you gotta figure it's going to be right around then.
Well, I thought the consumer preview was available next week.
Oh, I don't know what the difference between the two is, but
I think the technical is get ready for bugs, and consumer is like, you know what? We think that this is solid enough that you can run it, but don't do production stuff on it.
Okay, let's look. If we have to place bets, I'm going to say that Spartan, which apparently can also use Chrome extensions more or less, is going to, over the course of a year or two, is going to give Microsoft let's just say a 5% bump in web traffic and in web browser usage.
Well, what I'm saying is, are we going to see this? We want to see? They're going to push out Windows 10 as fast as they can. Are we going to see it before June, or is this more of second half of 2015 with like a December 29th release date, like the Mac Pros type thing?
I don't know. That's so important. I think that they're going to want to do the year to span like a September to a September.
Or could they do like a fiscal thing? The fiscal year starts July 1st.
I think they're going to do a September to a September, but what is the point then?
Well, I don't know. Well, this is sort of selfish because I'm thinking about getting a new computer, and I clearly want Windows.
There is something. This is what I wanted to show earlier, this is how I would like to end the show. I have a screenshot of it, but from the Microsoft Store. It's a sponsored advertisement on Facebook. This is what the copy reads: the new Signature Edition Dell XPS 13 with the world's first Infinity display, plus free antivirus software that never expires, and no junkware or trialware. And this new XPS 13 from Dell, we talked about it 2 shows ago. It's really a beautiful computer. It has this infinity display thing. It's Microsoft that is saying no junkware, no trialware. It shows that they are willing to ditch the notion that they don't care what you throw Windows on, even if it's a piece of junk, because they're still selling a copy of Windows. They want the Windows experience to be better, and that mentality is that shift is indicative of a company that I think that's doing the right thing.
So, well, we got to end it. So,
all right, this has been episode something or another of inThirty, and I would like to say that I am still the best at doing introductions, even if they're overly long. Thank you for listening.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.